Hey everybody, it's Kenny K here, and I wanted to review a long time that I did one of these. I think so. A found footage movie called Dream Eater. It came out in 2025, so it's a recent one. When I saw this, it had a score on IMDb of 5.5. Now it has a score of 4.7. It gets the moment I wanted to see it, I got a extreme praise. You know, it's creepy as fuck. It's the best movie. Blah 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 blah. But then you had the real reviewers saying this movie is done before. It's basically it's one of those movies. But that's what I like. That spirit that we got. You know that we can have that ingenuity by just having a cell phone, an iPhone, and going to this remote cabin somewhere in the woods and make a creepy movie. And you don't need a lot of money for that. And knowing this, and knowing that your movie can be picked up by someone. In this case, Eli Roth is the executive producer, one of the executive producers. So it got picked up by Eli Roth, and that's great for these guys that made this movie. But it's basically these two characters and a few where they chat with. So the story goes, you have Mallory and Alex. Mallory is a girlfriend, and Alex, she's I think she's a doc maker, a documentarian, you know, and she um, she wanted to make a documentary about Alex. He has insomnia. He does sleepwalk, but it wasn't for profit or something. It was uh, the shrink that he was seeing. The psychiatrist said to Mallory, "Can you film it for me?" So it was actually you know, not for her but for the doctor, and she wouldn't dare to make that in a documentary. That's private shit, right? So they go up in this fancy remote cabin. You know, when you open a door, you can hear a sound. Left patio door open, something like that, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty big too, big, and but it's very isolated. So you already get that feeling of, ooh, you're only with two, and what I gathered of the movie is that Alex is going cuckoo. So the movie has this uh, in a sort of paranormal activity meets The Shining. That's what I can sort of compare it to. Yeah. So first of all, the positives. The positives of this movie are you have a few really creepy moments that were kind of genius, never been done. These are the moments when Alex gets one of his famous sleepwalks, but he's not really sleepwalking. It's actually this demon that is basically trying to latch itself on him, and it's always been a demon because a few months before that he almost wanted to kill himself, and later we know why, but that's later in the movie. there's not a lot of exposition why and this and that. You have a little bit of exposition, and there's also a doctor in the movie, this cryptozoologist or something, you know, who knows about demons, and of course the psychiatrist that wants Mallory to film. So you have this scene in there, for example, where Alex is going. It's weird. This house has two basements, one underneath the house, and another one underneath the house, but it's separate from the other basement. And the only way to get in there is to go outside, and that's where the plugs are. Because for some weird reason, the house always, the lights don't work at night. They always get off. They always flip off. So then they have to go outside in minus, I don't know, this big pack of snow. I mean, to walk through, and 50 feet at least, and you go in another sort of cellar slash shed, and there you have the other plugs. So that's not convenient. And but that makes the movie convenient for the fact that they use the plugs to make the movie creepier. But that's for my negatives, to be honest. But the positive is, so he goes to the basement, and you have about 2 or 3 scenes like that. And the first scene was fairly creepy. He goes in the basement, and from the beginning, he does not want to be in that house. He says there's something out there wanting to get in. And Mallory thinks it's all BS, and I want to help you, okay? But he sees this, he's super scared. At some point, he's also sitting on the side of the bed, talking to somebody, and she thinks he's talking to himself. But then she says, "Alex, yes, honey. Who are you talking to?" "Oh, no one, no one, no one." And then she goes back to say, and then she starts talking again, and that was kind of creepy. But then that basement scene, you hear like Alex going in. It's completely dark. You can't see anything. He's like, but he has this infantile voice. That irritated me. "Hello," he says, "Hello," but later on I'm gonna, yeah. You hear these footsteps coming. Closer, and you hear them harder and harder, and then it's probably standing right in front of him, and it's saying, "I've been waiting for you, Alex." So in this weird voice, demonic voice, he says, "I don't want to be here anymore." And then he says, "That's a problem because you're in here now, Alex." And then things like that. He's having small conversation with this demon, but the demon latches himself on him. So basically, he's fucked up. That was a good scene because it was creepy with the footsteps. Did that just right, and the voice in the dark. It was creepy. Another scene that I also liked. It's that shining moment when he's standing in the shed, the outside shed, and he's completely nude. You can see his ding dong, really, you can see everything. But he's standing with his bare ass towards her. She has a camera with a flashlight on. She uses that to, for the light. And he's standing there, and then he turns around, and then he turns completely around. You see everything, Mother Nature. And then he say again, it goes from the camera goes out and back on, and you get that same feeling like in the other cellar where you can hear somebody talking, but in this case it's I'm gonna rip you apart. I want to see your cunt being ripped apart to your sternum, and that was fucked up what he was saying. He really wanted to kill her, and eventually light and he wants to attack her. Of course, the cliche light on. You know he's gonna be there, right? And yeah, that but that was kind of creepy because again with the darkness and Alex completely doing this U-turn. And also what I liked was at some point they say Marjorie says, "I want to get the hell out of here. I'm done with this. I'm gonna pack up the car. This is in the afternoon. Let's just get out of it." She shows the footage. He says, "Okay," and he hugs her, and you see him laughing like in the movie Smile. You know that fucked up laugh that the movie Smile, and you know he's already possessed. So when she packed up the car, he's sleeping, and she can't wake him up. She's like slapping the hell out of him, and he doesn't wake up. So that were my positives. I'm thinking if there are more. Not really. Not really. And the negatives were the acting wasn't that good. Like I said, the guy got on my nerves with his childish behavior, but not because he was joking around with his girlfriend, but he was like when he was crying was really like in the corner. You're never gonna leave me, right? You're never gonna leave me. Can I ask you a question? Is there? And I actually thought, like, can I ask you a question? And he comes like, oh, no. Can I have a piece of candy? I mean, he becomes this infantile weirdo, and the girlfriend is super naive. She sees there's fucked up things. There's a moment when he again sleepwalks, and you can see that in the trailer. She sees him. He's been looking at her from up the balcony and smiling, and she says, "Oh no, we're not gonna play that game again." And then again, he's gone, and he's gone again. And he's outside again in his willy, and you have to know minus 20 degrees. I don't know in Fahrenheit. Cold, very cold. And eventually she can bring back inside. But she's super naive. There's so much things happening that she should have got out of Dodge, you know. So she calls the other professor, which Alex didn't like, the cryptozoologist, and he told her, does he sleep? Is he? The case of insomnia, and yeah, but it's weird because he's acting weird. He also sleepwalks, but he's completely there and is talking to me, and sometimes he scares me. And then the guy's talking about this. He's basically saying, okay, you should book, and the screen goes black, and he's standing there. What were you doing? And like that, you know. But so no exposition. Um, the story, like I said, is very simple. There's a demon. in the house and wants to latch on Alex. And the reason why is, and I will learn with our second conversation with the cryptozoologist, demon connoisseur, and the story is not much new, you know. Then it's like I said, paranormal activity, a lot of that combined with The Shining, Jack Torrance, basically going into slowly going into a mad into madness. That's basically what's happening in this movie. But like I said, for new generations who never seen Paranormal Activity or The Shining, especially The Shining because it's an old movie from 1980, you should watch that. It's a horror icon from Stanley Kubrick. But Paranormal Activity was also good. It was creepy, well done, and also just a house, some camera equipment, and that's it. But that's what I like on these. Like I said, you just need a iPhone. You just need a fucking. Like I said, here they took a cabin in the woods to make it creepy, and it is creepy because there's in the middle of nowhere, and then because they didn't do any special effects, there was one moment a special effect, but it was just for a second, and it's good that they did that because it would look stupid. Uh, but I like that me, you, everybody can do that, and if you're lucky, somebody will pick this movie up. For example, this one was picked up by Eli Roth. Eli Roth as an executive producer. There you go. So if you're lucky, it gets picked up. If you can, if you're lucky, you can show it at a film festival, and again, it can get notoriety or something. That's the fun part of a found footage movie. But they fucked it up. Like I said, acting was bad. Mallory, Alex, they didn't come off as a couple. It looked like Mallory was a documentary maker, and Alex was the guy who was with insomnia or sleepwalking, and later on we know that's not the case, but it felt like that, so it didn't feel like you cared for them actually. No, not at all. um, so those were my negatives. There are probably a few more, but a lot of jump scares, but a lot of jump scares. You know, the typical ones, because she's always looking through that one camera, and it's POV, you know, first person, like a first person shooter game. You see out of her eyes, and then you know when she will turn around, he's standing right behind you. If he's not there, he's gonna stand in front of you. You know this, right? Um, she's always showing the footage to him, uh, and he doesn't believe it always. He thinks it's stupid, it's nothing, and this and that. Then finally, she goes again behind. She says, "I kind of went behind your back. I called the crypto the demon connoisseur, and he said, you betrayed me. You betrayed me." And he walks away in a hissy fit. And she said, "No, no, no, no. He's I actually think he's a kook. No, 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 no. I'm saying he's a kook. You betrayed me." Okay. Oh, the acting was not good, not good. And the creepy elements every night, and that was convenient for the movie. It gets dark in the house. The lights don't work. You have to go to that shitty outhouse that underneath. That's it's kind of underneath the house, but I think it's under the sand. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Under the soil. And there is this scene. Okay, so basically, those were my positives and negatives. Okay, I'm gonna spoil it. Um, First of all, movies like this, Paranormal Activity, The Shining, also a found footage movie, the changing of Ben Moore, same kind of deal. He's starting to change in a sort of demon that eats human flesh, and then you had a lot of these movies that where the demon latches on to somebody and he's progressing into this shell of a human being and then becoming this monster basically. We've seen this before. I seen this before. So spoiler warning. I'll put it upstairs here. I'll put it up here. I'm gonna drink a little bit. So she hears the door opening. Left door open. Left porch door open. Left porch door open. And she go that was also a creepy aspect because then yeah it's dark, okay, the left porch was open, he's out of bed, she goes and take a look, she yells, Alex, Alex, you see footprints, and then he's standing, like I said, completely in the nude in that shed, which I liked. It was creepy, and that he's turning around and saying, "I'm gonna cut you up to pieces, you fucking cunt." And then he's kind of, the camera goes on and off, and when the camera's on, he's coming closer and closer and closer. You have moments when he's seeing through these pipes at her, smiling like the movie Smile, and then at some point he wants to attack her, and she runs away into the house, locks the door, and then he comes banging on the door. Mallory, Mallory, let me in, let me in. No, 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 you want to kill me, you want to kill me. He's basically there in this fucking, Frank and Beans. And he's standing there. I'm freezing my dick off here. No, no, let me in, let me in. It's me, Alex. Eventually, she goes to the door, and she's right. It's him, Alex, but he's frozen like hell. And then she says, at some point we gotta get the fuck out of here. So she calls the cryptozoologist again, and he tells her, listen, I think your husband is a member of a cult. The house where you were in was actually owned by a cult member, like a Manson family. And at some point, one of the women was pregnant, and they wanted to kill it, but she didn't want that and killed everybody with blunt objects, with axes, and you had all the blood everywhere. And she was picked up by the cops, and eventually she had young Alex. Now the mom at some point commits suicide, and Alex is getting the same. She's also getting all these weird things, like feeling that something is latching onto her, and Alex now also feels this thing. And at some point, you have this scene that was actually also cool. That's the moment I said you see it for a moment, the demon. He's saying, you're sitting there, you hear him like eating something. She goes to take a look, and he's sitting there in the fridge eating everything out of the fridge, like meat. And he goes after her like a crawl, and then she says, Alex, Alex, what the hell are you doing? Come back to me, Alex. And I'm Alex. There is only Alex. And then he watches like this because you have this island, this kitchen island, where you can, yeah, serve your food on, or whatever, chop your food on. And you see this head like popping up. It's me, Alex. I want to cut you to pieces, bitch. And I mean, that was creepy. So there were creepy parts in there, and then he eventually crawls, and he's standing. Again, the camera doesn't work. He's standing in front of her, and he says, "Alex, yes," and she's, "What's this demon shit?" He's standing right behind me, and he's standing right behind you. And she's looking, and then she looks back, and you see the demon standing behind Alex, holding him on his shoulder, and she runs the fuck away. And I believe she knocks out Alex at that point. Um, and that was after the fact that she said, we're gonna get out of here. I packed the car, let's get the hell out of here. And she didn't, and he said, no, 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 one more night. And I would have said, okay, you stay here one more night. I'm going to the hospital, get some paramedics because you're obviously ill. Get get some cops there, if you are not willing to, cooperate, and maybe take a priest with you too, because the cryptozoologist says, get the hell out of there now, because Alex is now known as the Sleepwalker. That's the demon's name, the Sleepwalker demon, and he will not let him sleep. And when he looks like he's sleepwalking, it's the demon that latches onto him. So, like I said, that was and then the when you see the demon, that was the last fight. There's a little fight going on, and I believe at some point you have him in the house. And it was also kind of creepy when he's like, he's whistling this song. I can't whistle that sort of. And she's behind this in a closet, it's completely dark. But of course, every camera has all night vision, and you hear this voice speaking to Alex. She's behind she's behind the closet. It's creepy, It kind of came from inside the closet. So the demon was basically next to her inside the closet. Alex runs to her with a knife. They scruffle a little bit. She takes the knife, and she jams it accidentally in him. And he says, and he becomes normal again, although he isn't. He says this line. She's crying, but he says this line: "I'm never gonna leave you behind. I'm always gonna be with you." And then he dies. But that to me was already a indicator that he's the demon isn't gone yet. So she goes back to her apartment. She's eating alone. It's a sad moment. She has to puke, and at some point she pisses on one of the you know the sticks because she thinks she's pregnant, and yes, she is. And the new pattern is coming. You know, Alex, his mom, then Alex, now Mallory, baby, new baby to the for the demon, the sleepwalker to latch on, and then the movie ends when Alex is standing again in his dick, bare nude, in one on the door. On this, I said I'm never gonna leave you, and then on the other side, a bloodier Alex, also completely nude. I'm always gonna be with you, and then in a demon voice, and they're coming at her, and the movie ends. So that's it. That's the movie, and like I said, there are creepy moments in there. I have to admit, it had a good pace. Like I said, it had creepy moments in there. Like in that shed when he's completely in the nude. It was also a shock moment. He's completely nude, and they show you everything. You know, his dick, everything. And then the way he reacts, that was kind of creepy. And then the dark moments when he's talking to her, I'm gonna cut you up, fucking cunt. And then when the demon is coming towards him and he says, I want to get out of here, I want to get out of here. His innocent voice, and the demon says, it's too late. And that was also creepy. But the overall, not good acting, not a convincing couple, and stupid decisions. I mean, she had the opportunity to get the hell out of there. It's a hard decision because they sort of made up, but he doesn't want to wake the fuck up even when she's slapping him like, you know, one of these contests. You have these slapping contests. She's slapping him really hard. He just like sleeps, and she that's the moment she should have said, okay, I'm getting out of Dodge, I'm going to get paramedics, you obviously need help, I'm gonna get cops with, usually paramedics come with cops, and maybe a priest, who knows. You know, I would have done that because I know he's there in that house, and most of the demonic entities or the demonic shit happen at night. But it's the convenient shit that happens. You know, the fact that the light always doesn't work at night. It does work to a certain that at 2 o'clock at night it goes off, and then you see him walking away, and yeah, and him then walking toward, you know, being crazy towards the camera. We've seen that too, and until the time comes he really wants to kill her, or he didn't want to kill her because he probably knew she was pregnant, and that's why he said, I'm always gonna be with you, when he was dying. And did she die at the end? I guess not. I'm guessing that she had the baby, but the demon latched on to the baby. So I'm guessing she will have the baby, and then she will probably kill herself because of the demon's orders are now kill yourself, bitch, and the the the, the little baby will grow up like an Alex, like his mom, get going to a cult or something, and that's basically the movie. Now, like I said, it goes on a fast pace. I'm giving it a 5. It's it wasn't boring. It was, but it was, like I said, things we already seen before. But it had a good pacing. Okay. That being said, give it a shot. It, if you never seen Paranormal Activity, it may creep you out. It does creep me out at moments. There were creepy scenes, but most of the scenes, yeah, you know he's gonna stand there or stand there, you know it. But again, give it a shot. See you later. Bye.